Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and this is our second shot at it this morning, everyone. Please pass this. I'm waiting for Bob to come back on, but I posted something in my Telegram channel, which I think is really important. So Jeff and Bob are both cybersecurity experts, and I believe that we're running now. I'm going to check a few other things out here to make sure that we got this. But once again, go ahead and hit us. We're just going to keep coming back, and I know it's going to piss some people off, but so be it. Get on the right side of the world here. So this is what Bob did: is he actually put some diagnostics on what was happening, and he said at the end of Jeff's segment and right before I was to start, the communications were disrupted by an incredible amount of noise appearing within communication stream. I attached one of my network scopes to monitor the integrity of the connection, and the noise started. I traced the noise back to an anomalizer, which cloaks the IP address, and they are used by hackers, etc., and governments. What a bunch of assholes. Yes, they are. And so, but the great thing is guess what? They just keep, we're just going to keep coming back. So let me make sure that my Rumble channels are up here a minute. I'm hoping that it didn't end. No, we're still there. So, hey, welcome back. See if we can re-engage everybody. We did not give up on this. So hopefully everybody will come back in and stay with us again. I really do think that it's an important, that it is an important. So pass the link on to everyone, because this is one of those things that they did not want to have happen. So somebody hacked into this and attacked us. And you know what, working in the world of technology, it's not something that we don't expect, especially if you're over the target. They're going to try to censor us. They're going to try to knock us out. They're going to try to get rid of us. And that's just the way the world works. And so when they do knock us down, when they do try to silence us and take us out, we have to come back and continue on. I didn't even start new Rumble links. I just went back in once I fixed it on the other end. I did start a new stream, and that seems to be where they were hacking us and where it was broken. So right now I'm just going to wait for Bob to come back on, and then I think we're going to be okay. So had a really interesting weekend at Turning Point as we're waiting for Bob. Hang on a minute. Please pass the link on. All right. So had a really interesting time at Turning Point Action. It was a wonderful time. I'm going to bring up while we're waiting for Bob here. I'm going to wait. Let's see. I'm going to, he said he had a couple minutes before he can get back on. So that's okay. We'll bring up my Telegram channel. I had a really nice time. I met Laura Trump last week, Wednesday. And I got to tell you, I really like Laura Trump. I think she's smart, she's articulate, and she's smart. She gave a wonderful, wonderful presentation at the Macomb County our Republicans Lincoln Day dinner. Had a great time there with friends. So that was big fun. And here's what Bob wrote out. And I'm going to see if we can bring Bob on. I'm assuming that everything's fixed now. So ta-da, that's what Bob wrote. And I'll bring Bob on here a minute. Hey, Bob, how you doing? Hi, there you go. It's fixed.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a complete and total attack. And I'm amused. I'm actually very amused by it. I think that what we'll have to do is we'll have to go back and edit the Rumble segments and such and re-up this. But I kind of expect it, because what people don't understand when you're working in technology, we have a little tech company and such, is that you get used to these cyber attacks. And when you're over the target on stuff, you may have a little glitch, but there's always ways to get around it if you're willing to stay with it and be persistent. It's a persistence thing. And so when they were attacking us before, and I warned everybody, I said, I'm like, stop messing with me, only I didn't use that word. because I said, we will come back, and we will come back bigger, and you're going to be playing whack-a-mole with us. You can try to disrupt it. It doesn't matter if you disrupt things that we're working on. We're going to come back. We're going to continue to come back. We're going to re-up what we have. And if people can't stay with that, well, they're probably not qualified to be in the fight. You know what I mean? If you're going to be in the fight to restore this nation, that means that you don't give up, you don't back down when things get tough, you just work harder. You don't back away from it, throw your hands up and say, "Oh, whatever shall I do?" You figure it out and come back harder. And I really do believe that.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
The truth is, Donna, absolutely everything you said is correct, but I found what you just said to be something that's required to do anything of substance in cyber. I mean, it's just hard work.
Yes.
And it's the oldest analogy in the whole world. If anything's worth having, then you're going to have to work. I mean, you're going to have to work. That's all there is to it. And for me, in my lifetime and what I experienced, it's a lot of work, but it's been great therapy. So I'm just not afraid of the work. But there's so many people in this country, I hate to say this,
they're weak and lazy. I'm going to say it.
Hit the easy button. The easy button, like the old, what was it? The Staples commercial or whatever. Hit the easy button. And, I mean, anyway, you don't want to get me started on this.
Well, yes, I do want to get you started on it, because I actually had something that happened this weekend that I'm still mulling over, because I have a hard time with people that are quitters. And that's the reality of the Donna Brandenburg world. I'm trying to restore. I shut everything down when I restarted this, but I'm just going to tell you what I have very little patience or respect for people who are quitters. It's just my personal. And once somebody quits or walks away from a challenge, I usually don't give them the second chance, because they've proven that they're too weak. Honestly, they're proven that they're too weak to handle things when it gets really tough. And that may sound like a really hard stand on things. I'm still opening things up again, guys. Sorry. That may be a really hard stand on things, but God never promised us an easy walk. He promised us a walk, right? But he never said it was going to be easy. And when things go to hell, and they go to hell a lot when you're actually working on things that matter, you have one option, and that is to either be killed off in the effort, maybe even be killed off in real life. We don't know, but we know our government is willing to kill people off, and they do it without remorse. Or you keep walking and you trust God to finish the fight, and to be able to put you in positions where you can finish the fight, or he equips you to finish the fight as you walk together. And every time that you face something that's difficult, that is a difficult situation, you get better, you get stronger, you learn things that you could never have done another way. It's not a bad thing, but quitting is not an option. And when somebody quits around me, I don't say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you have your feelings hurt." I'm like, you just proved you're not willing to stand to the end and fight this thing out no matter what happens. And that may seem a little brutal, but if you find a weakness or a weak link in the chain, you can't just say, "Well, I'm going to keep propping this person up," because when you get in a real fight, like a real fight of any kind where it's life and death, that's the person that's going to melt down, that you're going to have to carry off the battlefield as they melt down around you. We can't have that. And people are going to have to get it in their heads that you either figure out that you're going to have the motivation to be tough enough to stand to the end, or you're going to be moved out of the way, because the rest of us who are going to fight to this thing with our last breath are not going to drag you out and make sure that your feelings are always coming first, because we got a fight on our hands. We've got a goal to save this nation, our families, our America, the world for that matter, because these people are murderers. And every time we have to waste time on someone who will not step up to get out of the play mold, because a lot of people, that's all they want to do is play. Every time we sacrifice 1 minute to that kind of a mentality, people are dying. And this nation is at risk. The nation is dying. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty damn sick of it.
Well,
And
this
I'm just
show,
saying, I'm sick of it.
this show, I'm very, very serious with you. This show, you're going to be the first person, I believe. I mean, I've done a very thorough analysis, but you're going to be the first person on your show this morning to show the facts of what's been going on. It relates to everything you just said. People taking their eye off the ball, people getting lazy, people not understanding the issues. Believe me, we're going to go through several bullet points this morning. And what I'm going to ask you to do is, as these bullet points start, especially by the time we get to number 4, you're probably going to want to say, stop the train. We've really got to look at this. And we really can't, because there's like 25 bullet points. And by the time we get to the end of this, I think your audience is going to be very shocked of what we're truly up against. And so, it just is what it is. These are facts, and it relates to all Americans. It relates to everybody. Anybody that thinks, good for one party, or, they're just drinking the Kool-Aid. They don't realize what they're unleashing.
Right. And hang on, I'm going to re-up here a post on X, see if we can re-engage people here a minute. And cyber attack over. Please, Pat, please join. There we go. And ready, set, post. There we go. So yeah, please help us rebuild our audience, guys, because this was absolutely an intentional cyber attack, because they don't want this information from Bob getting out there. And what's actually happening. We have to be informed. We have to stay tough, and we have to stay in the fight every single time. And when they hit us, we don't walk away from this. We come back and we hit it even harder. And I'm going to edit this down a little bit too today, because I'm going to be editing the next couple of days from all the interviews I did at Turning Point. I had some great interviews there. It was really amazing. I met Jack Posobiec, and I interviewed him. I mean, the list is just amazing for all of my friends out there that are actually really doing something. Carly Bonet was there, which I love her to pieces, and a lot of people that are actually working. The influencers and the people in front of the cameras, they're fun. All right, they're fun, but the people that are really doing something are behind the scenes, and they don't come out of the shadows very often, like you, Bob, because they're sitting down and they're working. Peter Berninger, Jonathan Cagle, all of these people who are heroes that work behind the scene tirelessly. Jeff Buongiorno, Jason Ikes. I mean, there's so many people that I can mention that it would take me an entire day to mention the people that I know, that I love, that are truly good guys, that are the white hats. And the white hats are in control. We're just working through probably one of the biggest stings in the history of the United States of America. I said, it was funny. I had an interview this weekend with a gal, and they were trying to get everybody out to vote. And I told the truth on something, and she lost her mind on it. She said, in your opinion, are we able to have an honest election in this next election system? And I said, no, we're not. And and it was live, and she wanted to cut the feed, and she started to talk over me and try to clarify it. And I said, let me clarify this. As long as we have electronic machines They're being hacked at the operating systems for Microsoft and everything else that you've brought up here. We will not have an honest election as long as we have the machines in place. But however, we can overwhelm them if we have tons and tons and tons of people coming out and voting. We can overwhelm them. Please invite more people, guys. We need to build back the audience and pass these links on. And so I said, but what's happening is when President Trump said we have it all. And the warning is to the bad guys who think that they're going to hack this election. We're taking names, and you literally are going to be charged with the crimes you're committing and that you have committed. It's like gathering evidence right now. And the people who do not vote, who are Americans, who decide to step out because they're weak and they're lazy and they're cowards and they don't go to vote, we're also taking note on that. All of us need to be, because I want to know who's going to be strong enough to stand to the end when things get really tough. We don't need a bunch of fair weather patriots. We need people that are willing to fight this thing out with every breath that they have in them. And this is one of the greatest stings you're ever going to see in your entire life. Just wait, see if I'm right on this. So anyhow, where are we going to go with this today?
Well, I'd like for you to bring up the email I sent you this morning. I would like for you to bring up the 0_, which is the bullet points. If you display that on the screen.
So you're going to have to give me a little bit of a when I switch screens. Just ask me to bring it up, and then it'll just take me a minute. But I've got them all queued up. Okay.
Okay. No problems, because I'm actually not going to be looking at the screen. I'm going to try to go a little slower this morning, but here's what I respectfully ask. You're going to see things that are going to alarm you. You're going to see things that people just don't know about. You're going to want to stop. I won't be able to get through all of this. I mean, you have all the information. We can have more shows on all of this, but where I'm going to start this morning is there are states that are still going to be using Windows 7 on their Dominion voting machines. There are states that have come up to Windows 10, but just for a recap, I would like to inform the audience that all of this research is based on third-party facts. It was available on the internet, and I'm going to connect a lot of dots this morning. So if you look at bullet point number 1, there's attachments A and B. Essentially, the voting machine corporations talk about how they lock down the machines. The SBC host.exe, which is arguably considered a workhorse inside the Windows operating system. It has the firewall API.dll interlinked, and it takes commands from whoever is instructing it, and that can't be secured. Now, that's quickly to move through A and B. Just let me know when you're ready to go to bullet point 2.
Yeah. Okay. Anytime. You just go ahead and I'll switch the screen when you need me to. Okay.
All right. So the Dominion source code. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of naysayers that have heard this and say, how can Bob Terry come to this conclusion that there is no malicious code? What does he think he knows? Well, to the audience, I've got more formal education to the bull moose and full gallop, but the bottom line to it is I primarily use my common sense. There were a lot of states that perform what's called source code reviews. I happened to grab California's. It was posted. Now, inside of that source code review, the key pages, if you scroll down to page 7, the key pages or 7 and 10, well, that explains the type of software that comprises the Dominion voting machines. So what was so interesting about all this is while they were using C, C++, C#, they're using Visual Basic Code, which we talked about on the last show I was on, about having that activated, just how if a computer is successfully penetrated, it can take over the whole machine. But now I made the comment that the software compiled was around 20 years old. People are going to say, how did he know that? Well, if you'll scroll to page 10, okay, page 10 has a series of commands, the SQL statements. You'll see string copy, mem copy, string compare. All right, so these commands, these were original C++ commands, which with the inception of the actual language, and by the way, that string copy, it says strcopy. That's actually a typo in the state of California source code review. It should be strcpy, but that's of no matter. But people get so angry at me about bringing all this out. I thought I'd point that out.
Where am I supposed to be? I'm not finding it.
Page 10.
Okay. So is it attachment 10
No,
or page 10?
no. Just scroll to page 10.
Okay.
You'll see SQL statements.
I'm not. It's not in the bullet point. The bullet points.
No. Open bullet point 2.
Oh, like click on this?
Yeah. I mean, you're. That's just a navigation through the bullet points, but there's a corresponding document called 2_.
It's not coming through on this.
Okay, well, let me just talk about it then.
Yeah.
All right. So what's going on in this source code review for the audience to know is that the Dominion software, Dominion Voting Machine Corporation, they're using the original commands that anybody would use since the inception of C++. When the internet came on the scene in 1995, and as it picked up use, these original C++, they're called functions actually, they realized that they were very vulnerable. And so around 2003, 2004, 2005, new compilers came out with new commands. And basically it was very simple, very, very simple to take an editor and go through, like, for instance, I'll mention a command called string copy. It's strcopy. Now, this is a little technical, but the bottom line is that string copy function is vulnerable. And so the replacement for the newer compilers is called s_strcpy. So all the programmers had to do is just go back and replace the older functions with the new secure functions. Most of them started with s_, and it's fairly easy to do. But obviously, the Dominion Voting Corporation couldn't do that because that points to using older tools, which were right around 20 years old. So I can back up my facts with my research. So there you have the older code. Now, where this is really, really going to get interesting is put yourself back into 2020. We're in 2020. We're going through that year. The United States has basically shut down businesses. The cyber industry was just being overwhelmed with new business. But here's the rub. While the cyber industry was being overwhelmed with new business, basically most of the investors throughout the United States, they stopped investing in cyber corporations. And I got to stay on point, but a whole nother subject is that I firmly believe that the business model in the cyber industry has been broken for years. So what happened was all this business was available to all these cyber companies, but they were going through layoffs. Now, how can you have all this increased business, but cyber corporations laying people off? The reason why is that all these cyber corporations, following the Silicon Valley venture capital model, which is used throughout Boston and in Texas and Austin, Texas, etc., all these cyber corporations were growing their business based on venture rounds. They just didn't have fundraising for an ABC. Most of these major cyber corporations had 7, 8, 9, 10 venture rounds, and they weren't building their company based off of revenues. They were building their company based off of raising capital. Well, when COVID-19 hit, the train wreck appeared. The people investing held back. They didn't have the revenues to sustain their level of employment. They started having layoffs, and yet at the same time being completely overwhelmed with new business. So, Donna, is that messed up or what?
Very messed up.
Yeah. So the side, it's just been inflation, artificial inflation, and the only people for years have been winning, in the cyber industry are the venture capital groups. They have a venture round. The next morning they go out and buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. I don't know. But anyway, so 3A, security scorecard. Now, go back to 2020. They're trying to generate as much business as they can, the entire industry. So security scorecard, their technology scans the internet. They scan the internet. It was just common sense to me to go, all right, all these cyber companies are hurting, so they're going to try to generate business. So they're going to use their technology to try to separate themselves from the pack. And so Security Scorecard comes out with this incredible report that says Security Scorecard reveals that 75% of the U.S. states, 75% of the U.S. state are not prepared for the election. Donna, you're going to have to give me a second. I'm having power fluctuations again.
Yeah, it happens every time you get on. I think one of these days, I think we should just do a couple of days broadcast where we're sitting there in the studio and not trying to overcome the problems that happen when you're going over an online venue. It happens all the time, and if you're over the target, they're going to try to disrupt the communications. I think Bob went through 7 power supplies the one time we were on.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I flipped the toggle switch. I'm prepared. Okay. I'm back on. So to continue on now, Donna, consider this. So Security Scorecard comes out, and I'm going to just scroll through this, and I want to tell you what it says in their report.
Bob, could I ask you something? Would you like to try to share your screen?
Well, I would like to keep it the way it is because we got a great connection.
Okay.
And I just don't want, any more curveballs thrown in. And I can come back on at any time.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering if you could share your screen. You could click on and show people what you want. You want to try it?
Well, I'm afraid, if you don't mind, we finally got to get, and I'm not trying to, it's just we're flowing now.
Okay.
And if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
Now I want to have the audience know to be aware, I'm sure Donna's going to post this. Anybody can download it and read it. Okay. You can download it and read it. You can contact me. I'll give it to you. This is research that was available, third-party research. So what happens is Security Scorecard, they scan the entire country. And what is interesting, they were sure to scan all of the battleground states. Now, what's interesting about this is they state in their report 75% of U.S. states and territory have an overall cyber health rated C and below. 35% have a D and below. Now, we're about to go into one of the biggest elections in the history of the United States, and none of the states, none of them are passing in the battleground states it's just atrocious. Now, here's what happens to let the audience know. I find this, and about 2 weeks later, it was removed. It was removed. There was a lot of media pressure. People were coming after security scorecard like no tomorrow. I mean, it was about, they removed it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into another cyber corporation, and let me tell you what's happened here. Now, keep in mind the security scorecard I just mentioned, that was never brought up in any courts. That never really made mainstream media per se, meaning, it wasn't on the nightly news or anything else. Nobody mentioned anything. Nobody mentioned anything about these grades. Now, let me tell the public something else that's happened. So knowing that these cyber companies, that they're going to be scanning the internet, there is a very, very reputable cyber corporation called Alien Vault. Maybe 200, 300, 400 employees, very respectable in what they do. But going back to the source code review of all of the modules inside of the Dominion voting software, I noted that, wow, that Visual Basic, if somebody got access to that. Now, let me read to everybody what was posted on the internet that never made it to the courts, never was in the media. Alien Vault, if you read their categories, they scanned the entire United States looking for 2020 U.S. election systems. They identified a Dominion voting hack. It was using the VBS scripts. They identified 10 Dominion voting machines that had been completely hacked. Now, I want to bring everybody's attention to 2021, when the lawsuits started flying. I mean, really picking up momentum. Dominion finds all this information and posts it in June of 2021, and they find it's in black and white. They find the voting machines. They say it was hacked. They were hacked. They were connected to the internet. They got through the VBS scripts. Now, not only that, but they actually, on another web page, they say, how could have this been missed? Election and voting machines, and they have the malware families. These voting machines were eaten up with various types of malware and ransomware, completely filleted. And it never, Donna, did you ever hear about this?
No.
You see, it never made it into the courts. It never made it into the media. It's all right there. So now we've got security scorecard that's scanned the entire United States. 75% have a C grade, 35% have a D grade. They scan the battleground states. They're not ready. And then while all of this legal action ensues, here's Alien Vault, where they have a complete forensic analysis posted on their website, and nobody knows about it.
And they can't get it out because fake stream media won't cover it.
Well, the bottom line to it is that I submit to the audience, the Republicans were hiring, what they believe was the best computer scientists in the United States. None of those supposed to be certified experts in cybersecurity, they never considered. they automatically accepted that the computers, the voting machines were secure. There wasn't a problem with the operating system. I mean, Donna, with all due respect, you talking about blinders on, and I'm, okay, so
I think you're kind about this. I don't think it's blinders. I think it's complicity, because both the parties want to stay in power. If they wanted something to be done, somebody out there would have done something, and nobody has done a thing.
All right, so let's continue on, because not only is that out there, which still needs to be brought up, how was this overlooked? How was all of that overlooked? This is a major, somehow there needs to be more research as to why all this unfolded the way it did. But now let me show you the nuclear tidal wave. I'm going to get into this. And, Donna, what you said earlier about, having people in the voting precincts, and I saw what Miss Laura Trump and the Republican Party having hundreds of lawyers, throughout the nation. But with all due respect to everyone, you're talking about initiating what's called in the intelligence world human intelligence. There's electronic intelligence and human intelligence. You're going to go forth and you're going to deploy humans to watch things, but what you can't see is what's happening inside of the computers. And this is why I've been so adamant that people will most likely think that Bob Terry's a rude guy because I can't get people to listen. They think they've defined the problem and they know the scope, and they do not. So I'm going to go into attachment.
Can I make a comment on that? Because that is exactly what I've seen with the clerks that I've talked to. There's only a couple of them that get it. They're all in the state of Michigan. They're all, no, we did it right. And they go immediately into defense mode, into what the hell happened mode. And let's investigate this. And if there's questions, maybe we should look into it, because they're trying to defend their little silos that they have. But the problem is that when you are in charge of an organization, you don't just sit there and look at what you do and even if you're doing your best, you've got to have your finger on the pulse of everything that flows up to you. And if there's a glitch in software, let's just say for accounting, let's say you run a company and you've done everything right, and you turn you decide to file for taxes or whatever, your accounting's all done, you're filing for taxes, and you think you've done everything right, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, there's a glitch in the software and there's a whole area missing, or there's something that you didn't specifically look at because it's bigger than you. That's what's happening here. The clerks are looking at what they put their hands on, but this is so much bigger than them, and there's no way to verify it once it gets to the machines.
Well, let me say this to you. What I'm about to go into, surely the deploying the people and the human intelligence will have some positive effects. But what I'm about to show to your audience is that approach, deploying all the human intelligence, is for what I'm about to go into, with all due respect to all the Republicans, is completely and totally worthless. And why I'm saying that, I'm going to back it up. Because if you go into attachment number 5, now let me just keep going through this. You see, back in 2018, it's relevant to the 2020 election going forward. Microsoft announced their Defending Democracy program. Now, Donna, listen to this. That program was to protect. This is what they write that in the attachment. Okay. They want to play a critical role in defending democracy. They want to protect campaigns from hacking. They want to increase political transparency. Okay. Explore technical solutions to protect the electoral process, defend against disinformation, threats to our democratic process. Just say, so this Defending Democracy program is a major effort by Microsoft. And I got to keep moving here. Then what happens? Now listen to this. You go into 6, attachment 6. Microsoft and their operating systems, obviously proprietary, they decide that they're going to create a new form of software called Election Guard. Now listen to this. Election Guard is going to be open source. And they commissioned a PhD student at MIT to go through it. Now listen to this. Listen to what they have on their website. Election Guard is a way of checking election results are accurate and that the votes have not been altered, suppressed, or tampered in any way. Okay? They're putting, now Donna, listen to this, with all the problems you've had or we've had with the Dominion voting software and what people are claiming, and if you remember my previous shows, Microsoft is deploying election software in the election systems. Now, I'm looking at my own screen. I can't see your face, but you got to be thinking, are you kidding me? Now, let me continue because, like I said, every time you're going to want to, okay, now, the Election Guard vote, number 7, okay, they've already deployed Election Guard into counties in the United States. They had it in Franklin County, Wisconsin in 2022. The states have let them put their open source software in actual elections. Did you know about this, Donna?
No, you've got to be kidding me.
No, it's real. Now, and when I get through,
I'm just saying that rhetorically. It's like these people are just,
it's already happened. I haven't even got
all rigged.
I haven't even got to the worst of it. Not even close. So they grow their division, okay, of their Defending Democracy. Now I believe they changed it to Democracy Forward. But this Jenny, Badanes, how do you pronounce that, Donna? Badines, is that it? I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce it. But they have a director. They have a lot of people. Now, notice November 5th, 2020, at the far right, under the promote the use of Election Guard in American voting systems. You believe this? This is all on the internet. Okay. They probably have at minimum a couple of hundred people, maybe a lot more. They're working full time on this. Nobody has heard of all this. Now listen to this. You're talking about the pot calling the kettle black. It says right there on the page, insecure elections nationwide.
Which
Microsoft.
Which page are you on? 7?
I'm on attachment number 8. 8 underscore attachment number 8. The front. So now listen to this. This is what I want the audience to know. Everybody hears about how the 2020 election was secure, that they've locked everything down, that no, it couldn't happen. Now I've shown where cyber corporations, third party, have gone out and said, no, I've shown the audience where the forensic reports exist to where the election systems were hacked with numerous forms of malware and ransomware. You have the other side going, no, that's not a problem. Now you've got Microsoft on November 5th, 2020, talking about their insecure elections nationwide. Does anybody want to call Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone?
Right?
Do you believe this, Donna?
Unbelievable.
Now wait a minute. I'm going to keep going here. Let me go to 9. Okay, now you think that's bad? MITRE comes up. They form a new National Election Security Lab. No kidding. Now, Microsoft is introducing their open source software. Now, MITRE has designed software called the MITRE Verifier. Number 9, MITRE Verifier independently verifies the accuracy of election guard and election results. So, Donna, with all due respect, while this plan for human intelligence is going to go out with lawyers and people standing there watching things electronically, there is a nuclear tidal wave coming at this country. There's going to be open source from Microsoft. There's going to be open source from MITRE. You're not going to know what's going on inside these computers. Now, what do you think of this?
It's unreal.
Do you see what the reason why people don't know this is going on? So now, just to go to bullet point number 10, okay, this is the pilot in Wisconsin. Okay, this is the pilot. They talk about it and how they deployed it. They talked about, what was going to happen with their pilots. They're really doing this. They're doing this, and you'll notice this article, May 13th, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hear about this, but that pilot was underway, 4 or 5 months before the November 2020 presidential election. How many people knew about this?
I would say almost no one.
All right, so let me just keep going. Now, here's what I found. They have a roadmap. They have a roadmap how they're going to deploy this throughout the country. They have a roadmap of their development. All of this is out there. And if you'll notice to the right-hand side, we go, there's the 2023 roadmap, the 2022 roadmap, 2021, 2020, 2019. Okay, this has been a full-time effort underway by Microsoft. It's not just Dominion voting machines. It's Microsoft with their election guard that's going to be on these machines. And there's the MITRE Verifier that's going to be working in unison. These 2 new pieces of software electronics. And I'm going to keep going before I give you the final, the big thrust here. All right. Now,
Let me go to 12.
Yeah, go to 12. You're going to pick up and you're going to see where their voting tracking software is cleared a major hurdle. It's absolutely cleared it. They got a green light. They're going forward with this. And suddenly this on the third page down where this yellow highlight above the red, it says on Thursday, Microsoft and Hart InterCivic, one of the 3 major voting machine vendors in the U.S., jointly announced a partnership to pilot the use of election guard in Hart's voting systems. Okay? The idea is to meld Hart's existing voting equipment with dramatically expanded software capabilities from election guard. It's going to be in the voting systems. How many Republicans in Congress have brought this up, Donna?
None. 0. Nada.
Now let me just keep going.
You want me to go to 12?
So,
Or 13?
no, go to 13. 13. Now, you bring this up, and suddenly, on June 4th, 2021, Microsoft Election Guard e-voting integrity set to go in Hart's Verity platform. It's in the election systems, Donna. It's there. Okay, and guess what? Read the yellow. Trust in e-voting systems is a significant issue for our industry. The CEO of Florida-based e-voting vendor Smartmatic, Antonio Maxia, told Reuters in December that Donald Trump's conspiracy theory about his company and rival Dominion systems threatened the future of the e-voting industry. They're deploying Microsoft software, open source, and he's complaining about Donald Trump threatening the future of electronic voting. Now, the American public, everyone's listening to, they don't know all this software and all this electronics is happening right under their nose. Nobody knows anything about it. Now let me show you this. I'm on 14. Now, what's happening here? Microsoft owns GitHub, which is a source code repository, etc. Election Guard, all of the open source is on GitHub for anyone in the world to download, including China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. You pick it. The whole world can download copies of what is going to be actually on the voting machines.
You couldn't even make this stuff up.
Well, Donna, nobody knows about it. This is why, hopefully, the people that have been angry at me because I've been short with them, I mean this so respectfully, Donna, they don't know what's happening. They don't. Nobody's, I hate to say this, these so-called cybersecurity experts. I mean, I'm a research scientist. I design intense new code that never existed. You have to approach this like a research scientist. These cybersecurity certifications, I'm so sorry to say this, Donna, but they don't design technology. They're just, they if they do anything, they download open source. And so they're not of the mindset to go look what's really happening. I mean, this is development. This involves programmers. You know, even if they are using open source, it's still development. I mean, open source is, in my humble opinion, is not really development, but still they're wielding software, and people aren't looking at all this. But let me continue on. Let me go to 15. Now, I just brought up GitHub, but now of all things, they're going to post all of the software on GitHub. But now, in April 7th, 2023, the powers that be, because open source has become so dramatically bad, the first articles start coming out about, gosh, maybe it wasn't a good idea to have all this source code out there. Oh, really? You think so? Go figure. I mean, and they write articles saying, look, you download this source code, you know, you're pretty much getting the keys to the kingdom from what everyone's using. So there's the third party proof where someone momentarily came to their senses and they published this kind of article. Now, keep in mind that all of this is out there on GitHub that can be downloaded. Now, to give you an example, Twitter uses open source. They keep their source code on GitHub. All of their source code was hacked and downloaded. You believe this? All of Twitter's, it was stolen. The hackers have pretty much everything that makes Twitter go. Now, I'm going someplace with all this. And then on 17, the article, Microsoft's GitHub account hacked, private repository stolen. Now, keep in mind something. Just you talking about an enigma wrapped in a quagmire. So far, none of what happened in terms of the critical events that confirm really what happened during the November 2020 election, that these third-party cybersecurity corporations published on the internet, nobody brought that to the courts or the attention of the American public. That's just a travesty. That cannot be explained. But now you've got Microsoft with their open source software of all things. They're partnered with voting machine corporations. They're putting their software on the voting machine corporations, the election guard. They're putting it out on GitHub for the world to download. But GitHub is so vulnerable. It's so absolutely vulnerable that Twitter's had all of its code stolen and Microsoft has had all of its accounts hacked. So, Donna, using common sense, do you see what's shaping up? How could you possibly guarantee the integrity of that source code?
You can't.
Well, let me keep going. So now, again, in 2020, 2022, Microsoft considers their source code stolen. So now the big problem, and I can get you the information on it, but basically hackers contaminating source code. Now, let me just go through 19 so you see how bad it is. One of, you see that ransomware group allegedly steals Microsoft's Bing and Cortana source code. Well, Bing is their proprietary Internet Explorer, and Cortana, that's their desktop navigation system that you would use pretty much for anything that you want to do in a Microsoft. Donna, all that's been stolen. It's gone. What do you think of that?
Incredible.
I knew you. Okay, now, number 20. Microsoft's own subsidiary GitHub breach. Look at this.
They sold the certificates.
They stole all of them. They stole all of them. Now, like I said, this is a case analysis event. Now, I want you to read 21. Here's the article. They're getting the information on GitHub. They're writing code to weaponize all of the open source. Now, if you want to, like I said, this is a nuclear tidal wave. The analogy is correct. This started out in this building, and this building, and this building, and this building. And now you've got Microsoft that's going to be on the voting machines with their election guard open source. You've got MITRE that's going to be in the election systems. You've got it published on GitHub, and you've got GitHub being completely hacked. And now you see, oh, by the way, whatever's out there, we're going to modify the programs. We're going to weaponize it. Then we're going to put it back on GitHub and allow it to download. Needless to say, listen to this. It's all out there on here. I'm going to go to 2022. And here's the article, Why So Much Open Source is Vulnerable to Hackers. Now look at this. 84% of code bases contained at least one known open source vulnerability, an increase of 4% a year. Now look at this, a whopping 84% of businesses are being jeopardized by open source code they use in their system. Okay, then it says the report's a wake-up call for companies that rely on open source. Now, this is a tidal wave. It is a tidal wave.
It's a time bomb waiting to happen.
Well, now, okay. Now, look at this. How this is pertinent to this show is I've discussed the architectural doorway. It's there. This user, this is posted on Microsoft. Microsoft keeps putting software back on his computer. See what I'm saying?
Yes,
They've
I've
got,
seen that happen before too, where all of a sudden you'll take something off and all of a sudden it's back on again.
Okay, so what do you think is going to happen with Microsoft, with all this open source and MITRE and these election systems? They're connected to the internet. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen to these voting machines? It's all gee.
They can do whatever they want is what's going to happen. They can come and go.
Well,
they can
all right,
change things.
Now I'm going to show you something here. And this is up to May or April 2024. Now you've got to keep in mind with all of the craziness going on in the legalities, in the lawsuits. Coffee County, Georgia, that was one of the key critical counties that turned the election from Trump to Biden, because they were up counting past midnight into the next day, yada, yada, yada. Now, all of a sudden, when everyone's saying, well, all of a sudden, they realize that Coffee County and their election systems, they were hacked. And they had to separate Coffee County from the rest of their statewide election systems. There it is. Now, Donna, so this is, the last attachment, but let me just go over a couple of points here. All right. And here's, this needs to get to the head of the Republican Party. Everything I've just shown you. And obviously, Donna, you're in tune with everything that's going on. You don't miss a trick over what some people are saying. And I would venture to state that probably 98% of what I've explained to the American people, you didn't even know about all this. Am I correct?
I heard some of it, but not to be able to follow it down this path. So probably heard maybe, you hear bits and pieces of things,
okay,
but maybe 5%, but not like this.
Well, I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm a technologist, but I'm an MBA too. So this is a case analysis, connecting all the dots. And the terrible part about this is that no one working with the Republicans, nobody has bothered to put together the picture and the scope based on facts. This is not based on, like I said, anything but hard facts. Now, for all political parties out there that hear this, if you think this is just going to affect one party, you're very, very wrong. This is the capability of wielding this country to whoever's behind this.
Overthrowing the country is what it is.
Well, this is the capability of whoever's behind this to have everything pretty much go their way. So, I mean, this is hurting the Democrats as much as the Republicans, as much as the Libertarians, as much as the Independent. So, as much as the Independents. So, there's a couple of questions here. That you have to really look at the whole picture now. So the first question is, this is the U.S. government involved in all of this. It is. MITRE, Microsoft, getting counties, putting their software on the voting machines, okay? Where's the U.S. government with the transparency? Where is the transparency for all these parties to feel secure over what's happened? What happened to the transparency?
There isn't any.
All right, now, listen to this. So I'm asking the audience, no matter what your political affiliation, all that I am presenting has been a full-time effort for at least the last 5 years. From anywhere I would estimate minimum, minimum 200 to 400 people, maybe well over 1,200, maybe 1,500 people, full time working on all this. Okay. Do you really believe, audience, that this election coming up with this kind of manpower ongoing for 5 years, that they're not going to use any of this software? Interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they've proven that they're willing to do anything to
All
stay in
right.
power.
Now let me, you know, I'm no political strategist, but now let's listen to this scenario. So we all know, as a matter of fact, that there was a political party that just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked about how the Russians helped Donald Trump win the 2016 election. We had to listen to that, for 2, if not 3 years, about how the Russians assisted Donald Trump. So let's go into some facts. So now they're saying that the Russians helped Donald Trump. Donald Trump's going to be running for president again. And let's go into FISA, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Anything that happens in FISA that has to do with terrorism. We know now that there is a defined cyber terrorism. We know that anything evolving FISA is top secret courts. We know that when things happen that have to do with terrorism, that American citizens can be detained. They cannot speak about it. They cannot discuss it. If they say anything about what's happening inside the FISA system, it's a felony. You go to federal prison. So you see all these attacks. You've just seen what happened in Coffee County in April. Now, what if the government declares that the Russians or whoever are going to be trying to manipulate this election again, and it is well within the purview of the president because it's terrorism, to execute FISA, to have this technology that they deem secure on all of our election systems. No one can talk about it. Just when President Obama was in office, he wanted to pass Obamacare. He classified it. Elected politicians couldn't mention it, or it's a federal felony. They go to jail. So who's to say, with everything that's unfolded, where a certain party is convinced that the Russians, thwarted the election, with FISA, with this software from MITRE and in Microsoft on these machines, I humbly ask you something. This is where I'm begging for your help. What does it matter if you have 100 lawyers in a voting precinct? What does it matter who's standing around? It doesn't matter. You see, the Republicans are taking a human intelligence form at this, while what's coming at us is a nuclear tidal wave of electronic intelligence, which the human intelligence is clueless. It's clueless. These are,
and then they shut down. And then anybody that could be a whistleblower that's in a position of power is totally,
if it's under FISA,
they're totally tapped. They can't do a thing.
So, is there anything I've said to you this morning? Or I'd love to hear from the audience. Do I sound like a raving madman or lunatic or somebody that's dreaming up? I'm taking facts of what's happened here and what's happened in the past. These are all facts. All right. And the fact is that, the whole country's heard about Dominion voting machines. I mean, it's been in everybody's face for so long, but nobody knows about these other 2 pieces of software that are being introduced, that are open source, that each state, listen to this now, the secretary of elections from each state can download this, ensure the integrity. The voting machine corporations are putting it on, but you've got MITRE supposedly volunteering their time with a whole new division, all right? So you've got these 2 new massively important pieces of software being introduced to the entire environment. And so How is any human being going to control this?
You can't.
All right, this is why I think, I mean, there's some other people that Jeff's introduced me to, and I've been pretty short with some people. They're very nice people, okay? But a lot of people believe that they know the problem. Donna, they're not even close. And I know you're pretty shocked right now. And so, I'm just one person. All this has got to get to, Mrs. Laura Trump, and it needs to be gotten to her yesterday. And I'm not a lawyer now. Okay. I mean, I write my own patents. I understand, I think I could be a pretty good patent examiner myself but I don't even know the term. I mean, I think that, there needs to be, immediate legal action. I don't know if the term injunction is an appropriate term or whatever, but there needs to be, stop the train right now. Where's all this source code? What are you doing with the source code? What is going on? Have you had, I don't even know if this is even possible, what I'm about to say, but, you've got to bring in, technologists, experts from each political party to go through line by line. And then who's to say that those...
Well, they can't even fix it that way, because they're going to get in there and they're going to hack it again. So the only remedy for this is to go back to paper ballots, hand count. You cannot use an electric or electronic method for doing this. And anybody that's involved in this at any level is harboring foreign entity and joining into this is an act of war on this country.
Well, the truth of the matter is that you're basically, and I don't know the exact analogy here.
Chinese election, or it's an enemy, it's a foreign enemy election.
Yeah, but what's in the mind? This is so terribly sad. Is that what's in the minds of the Republican Party isn't even close to the reality of what's happening. It's sad. Now, this is why, we've just gotten to know each other, all these things that it's unbelievable to me how terrible these so-called experts have been, how they didn't bring in these reports, how it is.
They don't want to bring them in, though, Bob. The point here that I'm saying is that most of these people don't want things to change. I don't care if it's in the Republican Party or Democrat Party. The people that are in the leadership positions don't want them to change. Now, I have great hope for Laura Trump. Yeah. And I think there are some good people that are in place that are working really hard. I like Laura Trump, and I'll see if I can get this in her hands to lay this out and such. But the average person who doesn't have the tech skills that you have, they're not going to know this.
It's taken me a lifetime to gather the knowledge I have, but I hope you don't mind me saying this. Okay, we're not prepared, and I hope that you believe it is true. I mean, I'm doing the math. We're not prepared. I read what her plan is to deploy all these people. And there's going to be human issues. Okay, there's no doubt about that. That'll help with the human issues. But the tidal wave coming at the entire nation is electronic. And the truth is that the American public is nowhere near prepared for this election. It's just a fact. I mean, this is why I've been so adamant, and this is why a lot of people, think that, Bob's an asshole. I'm trying to get people to stop. And, you meet people now, Donna, I mean this so respectful, but there is another part that plays a major issue in how they got away with this. And I mean this, and I had to present all this to you, and you see it now. People do not want to pay attention to any details. They want everything summarized.
Well, this goes back to what I said earlier and why I'm a little annoyed, because people have got a play mentality. Got to play all the time. Things got to be easy all the time, or we're not willing to hammer through it. The point being is that we're losing our country. We're losing our way of life. We're probably going to lose our lives over this because we've let it go so long. At least a good portion of us will. And they don't realize the gravity of the fact that there is an end game to this that leads in death and destruction. They have already proved that they're willing to kill people to stay in power and such. And it's like, at this point in time, the plane is over. We have to get in here and do the real work and get this out there. And people want to know, what can I do? Well, stop grabbing headlines and get into the actual research and try, as we try to get to the bottom of this, pass this information along and help educate the whole country so that we can get some people that can attack from many different directions, be it removal, the demand of getting rid of these electronic machines. We have to demand that they be removed.
Something has to happen legally, and I don't know what it is. Something has to happen legally to stop the tidal wave.
Well, you know what? Each and every one of us has had our rights infringed upon with their overflowing of the election or overthrowing of the election with this coup. Every single person has standing to go after the people that were involved in this. And I'm going to say we need to name them out. Hart, ES&S, Dominion, Microsoft, all of the companies and the entities, GitHub, you know, all of these companies that had a role in destroying our sovereignty as a nation and placing these puppets in place. You know, it's easy to place the puppets, but we got to go to the puppet masters.
You know what's so terribly sad, and I don't know what Lord Trump is going to do about this or anything of the nature. But let me tell you, you know, obviously I've been talking about a lot of extremes because you've seen fact. Now, listen to this. These people have published all of this on websites and nobody's paying attention.
Right. I got a question for you. If we went through each one of these
events, bullet points,
the bullet points, as well as what you have in here, I really think that what we need to do, and I see what you did now, and give me like a short paragraph, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to clip these into short parts.
Well, the short paragraph over this is that there has been a machine that started in 2018 that's been building, creating open source software to be deployed on all of our election systems. That's actually made it through pilot programs and being certified, and it's all open source that can be downloaded by anybody in the world. And it's coming from Microsoft and MITRE, and they are going to be deploying all of this, you know, in our election systems. And they, based on their software and the electronics, will say what is secure and what's not. And are the political parties, other than obviously the Democrats, you know, have, you know, been completely unaware of all this, even while, you know, how I described the architectural doorway as being hidden in plain sight. Remember that? Remember I said it's hidden in plain. It's there. All you got to do is know it's right there in the computer. You can use utilities and see what's going on. Nobody looked. This is another scenario. Sad for the United States. It's literally on the internet how it goes. It's just been there and nobody has looked.
So let's go through these one page at a time and give me just a quick synopsis of what we're looking at. And I'm going to run through all of these attachments because I want to go through it again with a short. I want to go through it again with just short explanations so that I can clip them into small clips of maybe 1 minute.
That would take some time. I can send that to you.
No. Just watch what I want to do here a minute. Right. And so what I'd like to do is is, let's do this. Now give a short description of the bullet points and what we're seeing here.
All right. Well, it just, number one, A and B, that just brings up the Windows 7 operating system and the SVC hosts. You can go down to the next page of that. It'll be highlighted in red. Yeah, there it is. Those are the SVC hosts with the firewall API, to where anything coming over the internet, whoever can take control of that Windows 7 operating system. So if the voting machine software, is running inside of a Windows 7, a Windows 8, a Windows 10, a Windows 11, the same thing can happen. So go ahead. Okay, this is the just one example of one sentence. You go the critical pages, or page 7. Scroll down to page 7.
You see what
Yeah, almost there. Yeah, there we go. Right there. Whoop. Back up a little bit. Where's 7? Are we on 7?
we're at 7.
Okay, going down a little bit then. Going down a little bit more. Yeah, where it's highlighted there. Okay, stop right there. Stop right. Okay, these are the modules that were on the Dominion voting machine. It says what languages they're using, and it says the VB code there, and that was active. So if you'll go down to page 10. Okay, a little higher. Okay, stop. Bring SQL statements to the top of the screen. Okay, so stop right there. So stream copy, and by the way, that is supposed to be strcpy, stream copy, mem copy. If you'll scroll down just a little bit more to the one more command there. Okay, and string compare. All right, those are older. Stop right there. Those are older C functions that when the language C was released, those were original function commands. And as the internet progressed, they were considered insecure. And now, for instance, where you see mem copy or string compare, there would be an S underscore strcmp. That's, I suppose, it means secure, but you wouldn't have all these vulnerabilities. They're not able to do that. They're not able to do that in this release. So hence, do the math. It's 20-year-old tools. Okay, that's
we're showing here now are 20-year-old tools that are in the software.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if anybody truly wanted to secure, they wouldn't be using these older 20-year-old commands. So they're using, even if they're compilers or tools to build this software, if they say no, we're using such and such, and if it did have the secure commands in it, they're not using them. They're using the older 20-year-old plus commands. I mean, C, the language, was invented in 1972 by Bjorn Strustrup, a brilliant Swedish scientist. And so these are his original commands. And, why would you have a state-of-the-art compiler using original commands? So,
okay, let's go to 4, and then what's the next step here with the?
All right, okay. Now let me just scroll down just a touch, please. All right, stop right there. All right, now on your screen, as you show, let me on my side so I can see a little better. Just give me a second, please. So we're at 4. So now, if you'll just look at this, is very, 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 very important, extremely important. If you'll just look at it says related tags at the bottom left-hand side. Now notice it was posted 2020 election systems Dominion voting system hack. Do you see that? Now, if you'll go just up a bit where it says IP contacted, on the screen there, they list 5 IP addresses. Those are voting machines. Now, on the upper right-hand side, it says file type. It says VBS-ASCII text. They were able to find these voting machines. They were hacked. they got through by this VBS script. Now, if you'll do me a favor, if you'll just please scroll down from that screen to the next screen and bring up to the top of the screen where it says Dominion voting system, how has this been missed? If you bring that to the screen, you'll see malware families at the bottom. And all you got to do is go across and count the malware. That's what they found on the voting machines. Is that not incredible or what? Is this incredible? All right, now, so you have a third-party cyber security corporation. Now, keep in mind, you know, in by June 2021, all these lawsuits are flying. And to correct me if I'm wrong, but the voting machines weren't connected to the internet, and no, they were completely secure. This is the third-party proof. They were hacked. Malware and ransomware were all over these machines. How did this not end up in the courts? And why?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
Where do you want me to go from here? Do you want to go to
5? 5, yes, please. All right. This is where Microsoft announced their Defending Democracy program. Now read just below the yellow highlights there. Protect campaigns from hacking. Increase political advertising transparency online. Explore yada, 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 all the stuff.
Democracy.
Right. Now you want to go to 6. You probably have to.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Okay, now it's 6. Okay, now that's what it is. What is Election Guard? It explains, okay, what it is. It's open source. They're building it. It's for, now, by the way, I think I said it once before, but I believe Microsoft has changed the name of their Defending Democracy division to, I believe they call it now Democracy Forward. So I don't want, people say, oh, he's got it all wrong. I think they changed the name of it, but minor point, but you never know what people are going to argue with me about. So that's just explaining Election Guard. You can go through, read it, what they're doing. Now you can go to 7.
What is Election Guard again? Just let's summarize.
It's open source software that Microsoft has commissioned a PhD student at MIT to go through and write correctly, and that's to be also certified by MITRE Corporation, that it is to be deployed on the actual voting machines. And we're going to get into the attachments that just to say that it's actually been through the pilots and it's on voting machines for this election. So we're at 7. Okay.
Go to 7.
Okay. So I can't let me just pull it up on my end over here so I can.
Election Guard pilot partners.
Right. So this is their pilot.
Democracy, Microsoft Democracy Forward, Infernal Red, MITRE. Enhanced Voting Systems and Center for Civic Designs.
Okay, they're all working together. And they're all doing this, and it's been deployed in counties. And obviously, the Republican Party's been asleep at the wheel. It's all right there.
It's all right there. Let's go to 8.
Yeah, and all right, so Microsoft has a director now in charge of their Defending Democracy. Like I said, I think it's Democracy Forward. But what's so, you're talking about everyone, is saying that the election wasn't secure. The other party saying, oh, it was secure, most secure election. And I know you remember this, that they're saying that the 2020 election is the most secure election in history. But now on Microsoft's website, they're saying insecure elections nationwide. I mean, Donna, with all due respect, with all due respect, what are the Republicans doing?
There's Jenny Badanes.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, what the Republicans argued, which they had the wrong computer scientists all the way. They didn't even, it was completely the wrong argument. They don't have to.
They admitted guilt is what they did. They admitted that the elections were not secure.
Nobody's putting all this together, Donna. It's so frustrating. So we go to 9, okay, and MITRE forms up a new division called the National Election Security Lab, and they're building their own software called the MITRE Verifier, and the MITRE Verifier verifies the accuracy of the election guard. So now all this new software, everyone talking about this is, I'm sorry, I was at Mar-a-Lago, and I don't know if any of, the president's staff, I mean, Miss Susie Wiles was there, and she's a nice lady. She was a nice lady. But I tried to tell them, you keep worrying about what happened in the 2020 election. You keep worrying about it. You have no idea what's coming at you. And Donna, with all due respect, okay, I read body language more than I read anything coming out of anyone's mouth. And the body language was just, terrible. I mean, here comes this, another little geek trying to tell us what's going on, and nobody's prepared for this. I mean,
well, where did the MITRE partnership, the National Election Security Lab, where did that come from?
No kidding. How about that? Popping up right on the.
That's a question I'm always wondering. It's these entities pop up all over the place, and they label themselves under all sorts of things, and they claim, oh, we're Republican, we're Democrat, we're grassroots, we're this, and but nobody can explain to me where they came from.
Yeah, but nobody's tracking these events to put it all together. And it's and believe me, let me say this to you. Yeah, I might be the last of my generation in what I do, and I like to think I'm very proficient, but I'm not the only person in the United States that, is capable of putting all this together. I mean, but I don't know what's happened with our party's just lost.
They're lost. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
10. Okay, so
let's try to stay on track here with what's going on. So
so we go to 10, right?
Yep.
All right, so they talk about deploying election guard in their pilot in Wisconsin and how, and it was successful. I mean, it really was. And that's just a fact. This is a fact to try to get through to someone's head, with all due respect to the audience, with all these know-it-alls that are so smart. I mean, these people, they have the education background. They would make you think that they can control the space-time continuum, and they don't know that all this is going on. This is a put.
Okay, so what happened here with Wisconsin?
They selected a county. Go to 11. Let's go to 11.
What happened here with, so it went to Wisconsin, so they got Microsoft as a pilot program in Wisconsin.
Right. And so they chose a county, they deployed it. Now they went to a county in Wisconsin that I believe it's a farming community. It's not heavily populated. That basically all the farmers are Democrats. I think it's 99% registered Democrats, and that was their pilot. And they put it out, and they said, "Oh, it works. It's just fine."
Okay.
Now go to 11.
We're at 12.
Oh, we're at 12. Okay, hold on. So go to 12. You go to 12.
I think we're at 12. Let me run back here. Yeah, we're at 12.
Okay, so now these pilots, etc., have been going on. It's their tracking software clears another major hurdle. They're using open source, and they're partnering with voting machines. Nobody's heard of any of this. It's all out in everybody's face for anyone to read. And
this is the trail that we need to be on to find out what's happening. And as soon as we bring this stuff forward, we've got to act on it.
Well, this entire case analysis is really what's happening.
Yeah.
Donna, it's nobody's paying attention.
Well, we're just going to keep talking about it and get them to pay attention. So now let's go to 13.
Yeah. So this is where the first voting machine corporation says, boom, election guard's going to be on the machine. And they're out of Florida. You know, Jeff, I wish Jeff would have been on the show if he's listening right now. I mean, everything Jeff's trying to do, and Jeff's a hard worker and he's very, very, very intelligent. And he really is dedicated to what he's trying to do. But Jeff, being a human being, what he's doing is human intelligence. All this electronic intelligence is happening, and Florida's just not.
Let's just stay with what's happening here so I can clip this down and tell people what's happening. So we're on 13. Microsoft's eGuard voting system goes into Hart's Verify platform.
Right. They've officially putting it into, I mean, this is
they're putting it on the machines.
They're putting it on voting machines. It's a done deal.
Okay, let's go to 14.
Okay. 14. This is where they're posting everything on GitHub. Now, this goes into another extremely important point. This is all the open source, but for the next 4 or 5 attachments, it talks about it's posted on GitHub. Anybody in the world can download it. Anyone in the world can download it.
And this is the open source code that's in the voting machines that's on our election system.
For the election guard. That's right.
Anyone can hack this. If they've got the source code and that they can get in there, they can literally go, it can be hacked in a million different ways, and including being downloaded to China to hack our networks.
Right. So let me save you some time. So you don't have to open this, just let me just say this. So attachments 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all of those 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 are facts.
Okay, let's go through those facts.
15. Well, they're facts that GitHub is been hacked. That source code shouldn't be able to be downloaded because it's causing so many problems. Okay, and that the open source is all vulnerable to hackers, and that 21, 22, 21 is they're
Hold on, let's stay back to 15 and go so I can clip it. Okay.
All right, so if you open 15,
need to go systematically so I can clip it. Okay. So 15 areas code leaks, new threat.
So 15 is a very important general article that says how dangerous it is for people to have the source code. I needed a third-party independent verification that was written April 2023. People are coming to their senses and saying, having your source code known, is bad. It's bad.
Okay, so I got another question. If they're already publishing it out there, but then when we want to go ahead and audit the elections, they say, no, we can't show our source code, but these morons have already published it out there to the hackers in China.
It's an enigma wrapped in a quagmire. It's crazy.
I mean, am I getting my hands around this pretty well?
Yeah, you are.
They're letting you go out there to all the hackers, but if you want to investigate this in a serious investigation, they're going, no, you can't look at the source code, but it's already out there.
Yeah, and they're going to say that the Secretary of Elections, they've certified it. Now, let me say something to you. We're obviously going through all of these points very quickly, but if you were to sit down, have a cup of coffee or make yourself a drink at night, and if you were to see all the details, and Donna, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse in the face here. This goes back to people wanting to summarize and they're not paying attention to detail. And I want to say something right now, okay? And I'm not kidding about this. If I was on the other side involved with this, I would be laughing my butt off, all right? Because you just have no idea what's coming at us. You're completely.
Well, I think though, Bob, this is part of the process of getting it out there and teaching people. They don't know what they don't know, so it's up to us right now to summarize. Now, the person who's done some teaching and such, we're going to go through these one at a time to lead people into the understanding. If we ended up fire hosing everyone with all of this information that's not out there, everyone's going to tune out. So we're going to go through slide by slide so that they know. So this is 15. Now let's go to 16.
Okay, well, that's simply where the facts that Twitter keeps their source code on GitHub, and all of their source code was stolen. The same, GitHub's where
they can manipulate the algorithms on Twitter.
Absolutely.
And so this is where this leads us back to manipulating all the algorithms on Twitter.
On Election Guard.
On Election Guard. So now you can't find the information. They're trying to scrub their trail.
All right. So now if you go to 17 and 18 and 19.
Let's go to 17.
All right. Well, that's just where Microsoft's source code was stolen in 2020. They've gotten Microsoft. Microsoft can't even protect their own source code. So how in the world are you going to protect Election Guard from being contaminated or weaponized? These are all pertinent facts that relate. Right. So
because they're in the machines and they leaked, they're hacked. The code is hacked. It's already on the machines, and they're using this across the United States.
Yeah. Now you can go to go to 18.
Microsoft confirms that the cyber attacks the code is in fact stolen. That's exactly what's happened.
So 18.
Not only have they put it out there, they're confirming that the source code is stolen, but yet they're not allowing us to get in there and have an audit of their source code because they say it's proprietary software. But these people have already hacked it to leakers and China and everybody else.
This is why it's pertinent to the election, and people don't understand the magnitude of these events.
Okay, let's go to 19.
All right, now 19 is just more of Microsoft being stolen. Their Explorer was stolen, and Cortana, which is their big desktop user navigation tool, that was stolen.
That was stolen. And they're using they've got ransomware group that is stealing things. They've got it all over the place. So everybody has this except for the people on the ground running the elections. They don't have a clue that this is happening. And then you throw in the Board of Elections, who will not and anybody else has the power to prosecute them for not having the elections. They will not run a full stop on it because every damn one of them is in on it.
Well, now, the thing about it is you keep going. Now, Microsoft has subsidiaries they own that this is number 20 I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're there.
Okay. And the subsidiary they own has their source code on GitHub, and their source code stolen. Everything's being stolen. Now, here's where this is where now all this is relevant. Because when you go to 2021, when you go to 21.
We'll go to 21 now.
Okay. Weaponizing open source. You see, Donna, what they do is they steal it. They make changes. They've got the hashes, etc. So they can use stolen hashes and create that where it looks certified. But they load source code inside of it to weaponize it. So what is this really?
You wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't even.
No,
it would not. There's no way we can audit it. So when they say we can't look into the source code, they are hiding the fact that they in fact gave the code. They threw it out there that any hacker could have it, including China. They have had people in there that there are open source. Weaponizing the open source apps, and they name them right there. They name some of them in this report.
Exactly.
And then now we know who has been weaponizing the apps.
Well, we don't know who.
And not all of them, but I mean, we know some of them. But and how they did it through these apps, how they hacked it through these apps, but yet they won't let us audit this and see for ourselves the hacks.
Well, I just want you to know this, and I mean this in all sincerity to the audience. There's hundreds, if not, I've got hundreds and hundreds of man hours putting this all together, probably more than 1,000 man hours, and I've done it on my own dime. The bottom line to all this is that you have no idea what's going to go on these voting machines. You don't. You just don't.
Because we have no transparency, we've got no accountability, and we can't audit it. We can't hold anybody accountable.
This is why, if you don't mind me saying, so all we've got to do now is go to 22. That's just, well, it's very important, but it's not just, but how open source is vulnerable to hackers. All right. Now, which is it's a statement of fact. You know, a lot of the stuff from 15 to 23 is critically important, but it's third party verifying, no, it's true. No, it's true. It's not just some guy intellectually jousting, trying to prove, you know, that he's you know, an expert, you know, which is what cybersecurity people do.
So we've got 84% of the code bases contained at least one known open source vulnerability. So they're hacking it through the open source code that they're installing, correct?
Right. So if you put Election Guard out there with all these hacks, et cetera, happening, you know, what is the probability, very realistically, that, you know, Election Guard's going to be weaponized?
100%.
Well, you know, I'm putting the facts out there, but the bottom line to all this is 23 is what we've been talking about this whole time. You know, software just arrives back on a Microsoft computer, and, you know, and that's just the way it is, and that's the architectural doorway. But of all things, you know, in attachment number 24, one of the critical counties, like I said, Coffee County, that was kind of like ground zero for this whole voting nightmare. And there it is. Coffee County had to be disconnected from the rest of the election systems, and the article confirms they were hacked. So
we know that they left the vulnerabilities in there. They installed them. When I go back to 23, it's like it goes back to confirming that nothing is truly deleted from the internet at this point in time, because they control the firewalls. They left themselves open doors to come in and leave without being detected. They leaked it to open source entities, and hackers can come and go as they please because they've all got the code. It's out there, but yet we can't go in and see the code to verify and to make sure that we hold people accountable and have free and fair elections. If I got my hands around this, I think I do.
Okay, well, let me just say this to you, and I mean this. You know, you have been a very kind person to me. You've let me talk freely. This is why, and I hope, and I don't mean to leave any subliminal messages to the audience, but I hope now that however I've acted, you know, I've tried to be professional, and I've gotten very annoyed over some people because they think they know what's happening. But now that you actually see what has been ongoing and that nobody's paying attention, and they're not paying attention. They are in no way, shape, or form truly paying attention. If this would not annoy the hell out of anybody that's truly looking for a fair election, I don't know what would. Because what it boils down to now, to wrap this up, is yes, you're right. There's no transparency. But the key point is,
unless you're a hacker.
Well, but the bottom line to it is this has been going on for 5 years. We know they're actually deploying all this on voting machines. What do you think is really going to happen? And the last point is you cannot, if you do what I'm saying if you overlook the claims made in the 2016 election, if you overlook cyber terrorism, if you overlook all this is going on, if you take FISA for granted, you're making an incredible mistake. And all of this needs to get to the leaders that are trying, and they need to take a chill pill. You know, if they've got to hit themselves over the hammer with a 16-pound, hit themselves over the head with a 16-pound ball peen hammer, but you need to listen to the facts. You need to listen to the details.
I think what's really important here is to distill it down into the facts, a factual case on how they're rigging the elections.
Donna,
And
here's the problem.
but
Okay,
they're on distractions rather than the core of the problem. Is what you're saying.
Here's the problem.
Right.
Well, let me tell you the problem. Seriously, there are so many detailed events. Okay, we've got 24, and some of them have A's and B's, and they all need to be understood. And if you say distill it down, even if you want to talk a second about each bullet point, the people in power don't have enough patience to hear that. And that is a terrible travesty. That's a travesty.
And
They've got
I
to
think
understand.
one of the things that we do on BNN, though, that I think does work is we do very long interviews so that we have time to talk about them. But for people to assimilate that information, you have to give it to them in bite-sized pieces. It's like looking at a timeline. Not to say we can't get into any of all of these issues, but you've got to give them like a timeline of history to see how it fits together, and then you dig down in the details.
Well, this is the bullet points. I mean, I've given it to you
Right.
about as crisp as it can be. I mean, I've really tried, but here's the bottom line, Donna, and I know you care, but the fact is we're losing, and we're on a road to lose. Nobody's aware of this. And human intelligence is not going to stop this electronic intelligence. We're on a path of losing big time. And people get so angry at me about saying this. We're not prepared. That's all there is to it. And now, obviously, you've been introduced to the facts. This is all really happening. Yeah. Lots of money put behind this. Lots of manpower.
They don't want to lose their position in power. But I think what we're going to do is end it like this and say, I really do believe that there are very good people that are in charge watching this, and such as yourself, getting into the bottom of what's being done. And I don't believe that this is going to go completely all to hell.
Well, this is why I'm here.
I believe this is the biggest sting in the history of the United States. Whenever we have problems, we have to be able to look at those problems from top to bottom, taking our time, almost to ad nauseum, looking for all these details like you've done, which is beautiful. And then once we put them out there, especially when we know things that other people don't know, once we put them out there, we give people time to digest this a little bit and assimilate it so that they can think their way through and join us in this fight that we have to write the elections. I do think that going through this bullet point by bullet point, looking and then going down each one of these is very valuable so that we can really understand exactly what was happening. But there's a lot of information there. And the average person, it takes a long time to get through this and go through the confusion that's out there, because we're in the fog of war right now. There's no two ways about it. And things are kind of like, I've heard this so many times. People say, I don't even know who to believe. And it's like, well, and I always tell them, I said, believe nothing. But, and that's what I really truly believe, that is that we have to start out with looking at everything, not that we believe everything we hear or disbelieve it, but that we look at it and take the time to actually research it and come to our own conclusions. That's what's very important. And I think we're doing a great job of it, really.
I have one last question for you, and I want you to be brutally candid with me. There's no wrong answer, and I want you to be brutally candid with me. And here's what I'd like to ask you. And no matter what your answer is, I would like for you, if you would please, whatever you answer me with, to convey this to whoever you share this with. Did you expect this morning when I came on, and I told you before, that we have a nuclear tidal wave coming at us. Did you expect to see all this?
I was hoping to. Honestly,
did you know these facts? Did you
I
know
knew the names. I knew the names of the entities that were out there, but I never connected the dots on what was going on.
Did you expect to see all these? I'm trying to say, people don't know that this is happening. I mean,
right. But we can't berate them, Bob, for not knowing things. And when we bring things out there and show them, and then people are smart, they're going to pick up on this. And I understand, it's really hard when you've worked for a very, very long time and nobody's given a chance to listen to what you've done. But that's what we're doing right now. And I think that it's really a good process to bring people along with us with the things they don't know. And you can never expect to know what you don't know until you know it.
Well, I understand that. I'm just trying to ascertain that when I started going through all these events, you were blown away.
Yeah, because I never connected the dots, which is what's so important. And I think this is really important, and never to understand it, that everybody has something to contribute, no matter who they are. And the people that have been silenced, such as yourself and myself, in mainstream, fake stream media, and the court systems, by the political party, we've all been attacked in that way, to be silenced. They hacked us this morning to try to keep us off the internet. There's going to be a lot of people that walked away from this broadcast today, and they know it. They're sitting back there laughing. But you know what? We have a million ways to come back at this, as long as we have the footage, which we do, and put it out there. And when I say that, when people mess with me, I will come back and hit them harder than they've ever believed. And that's why I wanted to go through this one step at a time. But we've got to be very careful with berating people for what they don't know, or making them feel small, because we have to just put it out there and say, come on, we're going to do this together. And they will pick up on this and run with it. And I think it's real important to realize that people want to know. And when they have access to bringing this out there, like you did, and we take the time to put it together and let them be able to see this information, they're going to be really grateful and happy to see this.
But do you realize, first and foremost, I think I need to clarify my frustration. My biggest frustration is talking with people that think they know all the issues, and they don't want anyone telling or even trying to tell them anything.
You know what it is, though? You know what it is? Sometimes it's in the way it's said. And for people to be open to it, you can't hit people over the head with a hammer.
I'm not trying to do that.
What I'm saying is that sometimes it's in the way that it's said, but human beings, I can tell you this with absolute certainty: human beings do never make a decision based on the correct metric. If you've ever been in communications or anything like that, the reason why people make decisions, it's always because of perceived risk. It's never a logical thing, because their emotions are hijacked.
Well, I hope that you like everything I put together today.
I do very much.
I would like to tell you my biggest fear. I want to tell you my biggest fear, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I have tried to wrap my head around how critical information that was published by third-party cyber corporations that confirm the real argument and that there was a problem, that somehow was left out of everything, and the opposing sides succeeded.
Well, let me couch this as something else. You're a good person, and your intentions are always to do the right thing and the good thing, but we're not dealing with good people here. And so the people that are trying to silence you and everybody else, it wasn't being left out. It was absolutely intentionally obfuscated. And so this is an attack. It's not good people trying to do the right thing. This is an attack. So when there's bad people out there, it's like if you have a dog that bites, or a snake that bites. We can't expect them to do the right thing because they're not going to do the right thing.
But
so we have to get in and mess up their plans and do it in another way, which is kind of a fun thing to fight, right?
But where I was going with that, if you just let me finish the end of the statement, because they were so successful over that, and because I do see what's happening, and you're the first person that's given me a platform that, that's truly listen. We only have 4 months left, Donna. They've been working on this for 5 years. We're in a general quarters drill.
This is a good start, though. At least if you have one person that listens, then it spreads to more, because it's not just me, because I was watching the numbers while we were on this morning, some of the numbers. So it's getting out there to people. And so the thing of it is when we deliver the message, it's got to be to the point, because people don't have time for it.
That's why I've got the bullet points.
And that works really good. And so it's like, we'll continue to work through this so that people know. And in a very matter of fact, to the point message, because I think that to go down each one of these things is going to be really valuable. I really do. And if I try to pull it back to something that's understandable, I'm trying to pull things into something that is okay. We're going to learn to run a marathon here, but we're going to start by taking steps, because this is really kind of a training venue in a way too. We start with baby steps, and then we go to a little bit bigger stride. Then we start to jog. And once we get more people going in that way, then we can run. But if we fire hose everybody with this information, they're never going to put it together. And that's why I'm, I listen to everyone. I want your story out there. I want your information out there. But not only do I want it out there, I want it to be in a format that people can get their arms around this, realize the problem, and jump onto this to help other people understand, so that we can attack this as a unified group to know what the true problem is, and not just have one or two of us bringing this forward, but have thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people moving together and saying, this ain't happening this time around. And even if we have 4 months, it doesn't matter. We can turn this thing around in a matter of as long as we can continue to build the people that are willing to work for this, and they understand the problem. The problem is, in single thing I've seen since running for governor of the state of Michigan, the problem is that there's so many distractions that people never get to the core of any problem out there. They don't realize how much subversion is out there, because they're throwing bits and pieces of information like this that they can't even stop for 2 seconds. None of us can.
Well, now you've got it concise.
Yes, and this is what needs to be done. And I think that we're going to continue to go down this in an investigative way till we get to the bottom of every single problem out there, so that we can attack it. And I know I get criticized a lot because people have this play mentality. We want to be children. We want to, jump on whatever's the next fun little thing to do, and act like children instead of acting like serious adults that want to fix this problem. And then in the midst of it, it's like squirrel, and they can't. And it's very difficult. This is a human failing. It's very, very, very difficult to focus on things. Now, I'm going to stop right here because it's 12 o'clock and I need to go, and I know you do too. But we're going to continue to go down this. We'll do this again next Monday, and we're going to bite this off in small chunks.
You want me to come back on Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we can continue to do this. So you don't need to be afraid. You don't need to be fearful it's not going to get out there. We're going to continue in very bite-sized manner of getting this out so that people can say it. Okay.
Well, and thank you.
There's no time frame on this, Bob. You don't need to feel panicked. I'm not like CNN.
I'm not panicky. I'm not panicky. I just, there's a difference between trying to fire hose somebody, okay, which is wrong, and I wouldn't do that. I would not do that. But then there's also a difference being that you're running into people, and I know you've run into this, Donna, and but running
But you
into people.
just gotta keep. I understand what you're trying to say. Believe me, I've been doing this for a long time too, but the thing of it is that we just go baby steps and invite everyone in just invite everyone in to join us. They need to join us, and let's stand as a unified front,
Well,
because it's
I'm
hard.
I'm looking forward to Monday, but before you go,
Yeah.
In all my research, with everything I've done, I want to introduce my critical research assistant. I've got one person in my company that's at my side that basically oversees everything I do. And I'd like to introduce you to Sissy.
Oh, hey, Sissy. It's your emotional support, Sissy.
She's 4.5 pounds, and she lays right beside me.
That's awesome.
16, 18 hours a day, and she has no problem French kissing.
That's awesome.
See. But this is Sissy. Now you're a national celebrity, Sissy.
There you go. Well, Bob, we need to go, but I'm going to say a real quick prayer because I just got somebody that said I have to be somewhere right now. Okay. So, and we'll do this next week. So you can, just let's just go through like 3 or 4 other things to connect next week. Okay. And then maybe we can drill down on them a little bit, and so that people can get their arms around this. This was a good show. And I'm going to clip this down, and it'll be great. We'll talk about that later.
The timeline before the 2020
election. I have to go.
Yeah,
I absolutely have to go. I'm really sorry. So let's say a prayer and we'll come back. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for Bob and all the work he's put in. Thank you for getting us up again today online so that we can get to these things and all of the wonderful information that was shared. We ask your blessings on all of us. Keep us safe. And we just want to let you know that we love you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. And this is where you go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who's ever not conceded in the history of the United States. And with that said, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. Be at peace. It's going to be okay. It's going to be God that's going to win this war. It's not us. We help, but this is God's war, and we can be at peace with that. So have a great day.
Bye.